Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm going to wait for you guys to tune in. I might have to go back live on Instagram. Uh, can you guys on Instagram hear me? Can you guys actually hear me, or am I on mute? Good morning. Good morning. Can you guys let me know on Instagram if you can hear me? Uh, Hi, Facebook. Hi, YouTube. Happy Friday. Those of you on Instagram, can somebody comment and let me know if you guys can hear me? Can you hear me on Instagram? Well, the fact that nobody's commenting means that they can't hear me. Okay, Instagram, I'm going to log off and log back in because somebody called my phone, so that messes up my audio. Just give me a second. Okay, so can you hear me now? Okay, you can hear me now. Okay, good. So I don't need to log off. All right. Good morning, Instagram. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Facebook. How's everyone doing? Happy Friday. I hope you guys are having an amazing weekend. Yeah, Chinadu, you messed up my live. You were calling my office phone, which rang on my cell phone, which was why my audio went off. Anywho, let me introduce myself. My name is Aisha Chidole. I'm an immigration attorney. I represent clients in all 50 states of the United States and internationally with their family immigration matter. So your location is not an issue. At our firm, you can call us to schedule a consultation at 407-995-6567. You can also send a WhatsApp to 404-333-8751. Guys, these two numbers are only numbers, so please do not be scammed. If somebody else is saying, call me, I'm Aisha, or I'm the Chidole Law Firm, those numbers are not valid. These are our only two numbers. So today I want to talk about, and if you're new, definitely leave your comment in the box. Let us know you're new here so I can give you a shout out. Today I want to talk about conditional green cards and what exactly is that? Like, what is that, and how do we remove the conditions in our green card? Generally people just hear the word green cards, and a lot of people don't really know the difference between a conditional green card versus a 10-year green card. So let's first start with what a conditional green card is. A conditional green card is a 2-year green card. What does that mean? It means that USCIS has approved you for a green card, but with conditions. Okay. And at the 2-year mark, you have to apply to remove the conditions on your green card. So, a lot of people think, I've had people make this mistake where they go file for like a green card renewal, thinking that, well, I have a conditional green card is about to expire. I'm going to file for a green card renewal. But that is not how it works. You cannot file a green card renewal application, which is like an I-90. You cannot file that when you have a conditional green card. What needs to happen is that after you've had that green card for 2 years, you have to then apply for removal of conditions. Removal of conditions is very different from applying for renewal of conditions. There are a few ways in which you can remove your conditions. And when you're applying for removal of conditions, it is important that no matter which way you select, which I'll get into in a second, that you still show that you have a bona fide marriage. And it seems that the word bona fide confuses a lot of people. A bona fide marriage means that the marriage is real. It is a legitimate marriage. Bona fide does not mean that you have a marriage certificate, because anybody can get a marriage certificate. Bona fide means that you and your spouse intend to live together as a husband and wife and wife, or whatever. Like, you intend to be in a committed marital relationship outside of U.S. immigration. And so the evidence that they're typically looking for when you're applying to remove your conditions are the exact same when you don't have your green card and they're asking you to prove your marriage. The only difference is that it becomes a bit tougher. And I'm going to stress this because, it hits people like a brick, when it comes and they take their conditional green card away from them, or they get that denial and then they're coming to us in panic. Like, I am telling you guys, conditional green card removal is much harder than getting your initial green card. There are many things that they can, maybe even accept when you don't have your papers and somebody's filing for you, like, taxes, or, we couldn't be in a lot of things because I didn't get my Social Security till a week before the interview. And, I couldn't do all these things. When you're a conditional green card holders, those excuses don't fly anymore. Like, I've been in interviews where the officers will specifically say, you literally have nothing, but I'm going to do you a favor and give you your green card. But when you come back here for your 2-year green conditional removal, just know that none of this excuse is going to fly. So they want to see stuff that you guys have together, because at that point, most likely you would have been married for like 3 years, by the time the interview is scheduled, or 4 years even. So they want to see that you have proof of your marriage. So what are the types of ways, or how do you remove this condition? So the first way is you can do it jointly. You and your spouse can apply together to remove the conditions in your green card. So meaning both of you have to sign the form, provide the evidence, and both of you have to show up to the interview. Sometimes, though, they bypass your interview depending on how much stuff you submit for supporting evidence. If you really front load and throw the kitchen sink at USCIS, there's a good chance that, your, conditional green card will be approved without an interview. Another way in which you can remove the conditions in your green card is through what we call a waiver based on certain things. And I can see that you guys are asking questions. I will get to your questions once I finish talking about the topic, so feel free to write your questions, and I'll get to them. So, there are different kinds of waivers, but I'm going to talk about the 3 most popular waivers. Okay. One is, God forbid, knock on wood, if your spouse passes away. If your spouse passes away, you can file for removal of condition. On that basis, with proof of your legitimate marriage, and here my spouse passed away. The second option is based on divorce. I've seen many people who are in marriages that are not working, and they're like, I'm going to duke it out because I need her to remove the conditions on my green card. So here's the thing. USCIS, everybody that works at USCIS is a human being. Some of those people have also had divorces in their lives. USCIS does not expect every immigrant to be happily married for the rest of their lives. So let's get that clear. You can remove your conditions based on divorce. However, if you are removing it based on divorce, you still have to show that your marriage was legitimate. You guys had irreconcilable differences. Things did not work out, so you still have to show that. So you still have to continue documenting your marriage. You can't just get your conditional green card and you're like, oh, I'm going to coast. Life is good, or whatever it is. You still have to show that. Another waiver that most people use when it comes to waivers is, if you qualify for this, if your spouse has been extremely cruel to you or abusive. In that case, you can still do the same thing where you request a waiver, meaning you're doing it by yourself, but you still have to show that your marriage was bona fide, that your marriage was legitimate. So, like, I cannot stop talking about that, because you can't just come to a conditional removal and all you do is fill out a form, which we've seen that atrocity happen. But a lot of times, people that do that is because they don't really understand the nuances or what is required. And, I know I posted a funny TikTok yesterday about, when people think that immigration is really about filling out forms. It's really not. Like, you have to be able to look at each individual case and strategically, let me speak for myself as an attorney, look for the things that make this person a potential red flag and try to resolve that before that stuff gets to an officer to understand and have your explanations. So a lot of times people submit things and, they're not even thinking about from a strategic standpoint, because and you can't blame them because they're not trained to do that. And that's why when you have something as important as your green card, as your citizenship, you should hire a competent professional to assist you with it. So those are some of the ways to remove conditions with a waiver. Another option is an extreme hardship waiver. Honestly, I don't talk about extreme hardship a lot just because it's really, really, really difficult. Really, really difficult to get it on that basis. What you see more often is based on divorce, extreme cruelty, and death. And then, of course, if you and your spouse choose to remove the conditions together. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but if you have a question concerning, well, how do they determine who gets a 2-year green card and a 10-year green card? So you get a 2-year green card if at the time of approval of your green card, you have been married for under 2 years. If you've been married for over 2 years, even if it's 2 years and 2 days, you will get a 10-year green card. But if it's under 2 years, you will get a conditional green card. And one last thing to point out, if you're doing a waiver, usually you don't have to follow the timeline of removing your conditions at the 2-year mark. So for instance, if your spouse is abusive or if you're filing a waiver based on divorce, you don't have to wait till you have your conditional green card for 2 years before you put in an application for removal. And even if the 2 years has passed and you forgot to do it and it's 2 years later, and you can still put in the removal of condition application. So those are the waivers, basically sort of like exempt you from the time requirement as long as you've not already been sent into removal proceeding. If you've been sent into removal proceeding, then you obviously have to handle that removal proceeding. But if you've not, you can still submit an application. In fact, we've had a client who divorced and thought that they had a 10-year green card and found out 12 years later, and we put in a removal of condition 12 years later after they kept getting rejected, saying they didn't qualify for a renewal of their green card. And then the last thing I would say is that if you do get your green card approved, your conditions removed based on extreme cruelty, you'll be eligible for citizenship after 3 years. And you start counting the 3 years from the date in which you got your conditional green card. So typically most people, by the time they approve their conditional green card based on extreme cruelty, they would have already had their green card for 3 years. So most people are almost immediately eligible unless they applied for their conditional green card super early, well before the 2 years. Okay. So let me take some questions. Good morning, Cleopatra from YouTube. Good morning, Justina. Happy Friday to you too. Good morning, Tanique. Good morning, Brandon. Okay, Chandel says, yes, we can hear you. The best lawyer in the world. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much. Good morning, Valanley. Stephen Miller said, is it wise to get a lawyer for your permanent green card? Well, I would hope that you just listened to my live and I just said, yes, it is wise to get a lawyer. When you're dealing with things that are important, there are just certain things like, it's like if you have a heart condition, like, you could go to Google and read all the self-help and how to do this naturopathic stuff, but hire a professional, like, so you can have peace of mind, and somebody who sees hundreds of these and can possibly brainstorm and think about scenarios where they could go wrong, and stuff. The worst thing that most of us lawyers do not like, I'll speak for myself, is when a client just really tries to do patchy, when somebody just tries to just think that they're going to do this themselves and just mess up the whole thing. And then by the time they come to me, it's literally like there's no hope. Like what else? You've literally ruined your chances, But sometimes when you seek counsel, whether or not you choose to hire that lawyer, but seeking counsel to understand what it is, that's at stake, what is it that you have, what is it that you submitted, and all those things, it certainly is helpful. If I was in that situation, I would use a lawyer. Thomas Sunny says, is it safe to travel with a temporary travel permit with a pending, I'm assuming that means pending, with a pending valid case? Well, the answer is going to depend on if that person has, any cases against them, or any removal cases or anything like that? If the answer is no, usually you're able to travel. You're able to travel. As I always say, when you do travel on a travel permit, make sure that you always take a duplicate copy of everything. So make sure that you're taking your like your your combination EAD travel permit card, if that's what you got, or the paper form, and then the green sheet that has the approval. I would also even take my I-485 pending receipt, and everything that you take, you make a photocopy of it. It's always good to have a backup copy in case something happens to yours, or you're sent to secondary review, that you just have all your stuff together. And let me just come back real quick. This question just reminded me of something that I wanted to talk about with conditional green card holders. Something that I frequently see from a confusion standpoint with conditional green card holders is that they'll say, oh yeah, I have a 2-year extension, like my green card expired or whatever it is. Oh, I got the 2-year extension, or in December, I got the 2-year extension from it in January. And this is because when you submit an application for removal of conditions, prior to September of last year, you would get an 18-month extension of your green card. And then after September, because of the backlog, they changed it to 24 months. But I want to point out something here that confuses a lot of people. This extension is not from the date that you receive it. This extension is from the date on your card when it expires. So if you're one of those people who applied late, let's say you applied 2 years late or something. I'm just using that as an example, and you got a 2-year extension. Your 2-year extension has technically expired. So in that case, you do not want to leave the country, without getting and going to InfoPass and getting a temporary I-551 stamp on your passport. That's essentially a green card stamp. So if you're ever in the process of removing your conditions and your green card expires and the extension expires based on the date that I've told you now, you always want to call USCIS to schedule an InfoPass. An InfoPass allows you to go into the field office and tell them you have a pending I-751 case, and then they will stamp your passport with a temporary green card for the next 12 months. This allows you to continue to work, and this continues to allow you to travel. If you don't have these things, you're basically setting yourself up for secondary inspection, deferred inspection, like stuff that would basically not be cute. So, yeah. Okay, so let's see what other questions we have here. Let me go to Instagram. Good morning. Recently got an email from USCIS that my I-131 case is closed. What does it mean? Well, it means exactly what it means. Did they ask you for something? Well, when you say closed, you mean denied? Do you mean denied? Is that what you mean? Because usually if they ask you for something or send you a request for additional evidence and you don't do it, or you don't send it by the timeline, usually they'll close that. Otherwise, they have to make some sort of decision, whether they approve you or deny you, or send you a letter basically saying that you're not eligible based on X, Y, Z. Samantha Braid says, how long can they take to make a decision on your case after an interview? There's absolutely no timeline for that. Like, it can take a matter of hours, a matter of days, a matter of weeks, a matter of months, a matter of years. So, it just depends. It really just depends. And it depends on your record and what they're looking for. There are going to be people, of course, we always have people that when we go there, and as soon as I get in my car or that evening, I know that they're getting approved because maybe the officer had already indicated it. And there was nothing else. Then the other people this might not be their first rodeo with immigration, or they've been divorced before, or they have like maybe a criminal record or something that they're investigating. So they may need to do a little bit more review. And so sometimes you could get approved, a couple months later or wherever. Usually after the 6-month mark, if you haven't gotten an approval after an interview or an RFE or a notice of intent to deny, I always am on the alert, and you want to make sure that you are prepared for like potential pulling up, to your house, or pulling up to your work or your spouse's place, that they're doing some security checks, and if you guys don't know, like USCIS will go to another country to do your background check, not just here, just so that you know that they will contact, people in your home country as well. So, all those things, the longer your stuff is out, or pending, those are things that could potentially happen. Um, okay. Okay, I was watching the update that most I-751 no longer require interviews. So right now, something that they're doing to try to control backlogs is that they're saying that. However, that has always been the case, and until we actually see it happening, um, I still want the clients to obviously, the more stuff you send, the less likely for it to happen. But I suspect that still a lot of waiver cases will still require interviews. So, it's something that he just talked about a week and a half ago. So let's wait and see what happens. I have a few people coming up. So let's see if they just approve them without an interview. That would be great. Um, and if there's an interview, we prepare for the interview, and then they'll get approved as well. Um, Sonia says, I'm a 10-year green card holder. What document do you need to file for citizenship? You can probably look on the citizenship websites to figure that out. Can you travel on a conditional green card internationally? Absolutely. You're a green card holder. You can even petition for your children. As a conditional green card holder, you have the same rights as a permanent green card holder. The only difference is that yours is 2 years, and then you need to remove the conditions. But you can travel. Akata Otamare says, making a police report, will the authorities inform the person you're making the report on? Well, the answer depends on what it is you're reporting. Is it a report because you want them to be arrested? So most of the time, they might reach out to the person. If it's one where it requires them to be arrested or to be questioned, police report, there's no rules to confidentiality. If you're reporting somebody, accusing somebody of something, they might, reach out to the person. It's not the same as USCIS and VAWA cases. Those are two very different things. With USCIS and VAWA cases, there's confidentiality there when you file a VAWA case. But I cannot tell you that there's confidentiality with a police report. If they want to question the person, they can question the person and say, your spouse said you did this, 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 that. What do you have to say for yourself? Or your spouse says you're harassing them, da 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 da. Or your spouse says you took their property. Or sometimes it depends on the precinct. Some people will say it's a domestic or it's a civil matter. It just depends on what it is you're reporting. So it's too broad a question to know what the outcome would be. Okay, let me answer some on Facebook. I left my mouse at home today, so my scrolling is really bad on Facebook and YouTube. Cleopatra says, how long after someone gets married can you file paperwork? There's no timeline, for you to file your paperwork. Just have your stuff in order when you file your paperwork. And obviously, if you got married and you apply a month later, you're not going to have as much bona fides as, say, maybe somebody who's been married a longer time. So one of the things that you want to do is to make sure that you are continuing to document your marriage and bona fide, so that when they do schedule you for an interview, you can then present more stuff and say, okay, we were just married and now we have all the stuff. Here you go. Sarjo says, I did my interview for removal condition on my green card since August last year. Still didn't hear anything from them. What is the meaning of security check? Yeah, security check basically means that they're doing a background check on you and your marriage and making sure that it's legitimate. One of the things that you can do to speed up the process is ask for congressional assistance. So see who your local congresswoman or man is and reach out to them to see if they can, urge USCIS to move quickly with making a decision. Okay, so my green card expired on January 2022. I received my 2-year extension letter in December and did my fingerprints February. No RFA or anything as yet. I don't know what RFA means. How long should I wait for an update after fingerprints? You're not going to hear anything else. After your fingerprints for a conditional green card, you're not going to hear anything else until they either make a decision or request additional evidence. Those are the only two things. Or they'll schedule you, oh, well, let me add the third one, or they may schedule you for an interview, depending on what's in your record. So those are the only things you're looking at a long time. Like I said, the reason why they give 24 months extensions with conditional green cards is because it's literally taken that long. In the last couple of weeks, USCIS, President Biden, and the Immigration Secretary here have all been introducing these things that are meant to speed up the immigration process. Let's see how it works. Personally, I'm not holding my breath, but I'll be very happy if they do, just because the idea behind initially giving a 2-year work permit was to speed things up, but it didn't. So if they speed things up, then great. But typically, conditional green cards, you're looking at anywhere from 18 months to 24 months realistically. So I wouldn't even lose sleep over it, because at least you're a green card holder. You still have your extension. So you're still very much a green card holder, and just, patiently wait. Okay. Are you required to live with your spouse when you file for a marriage-based green card? No, but it's highly, highly, highly recommended for approval. It is highly recommended for approval. You're putting yourself in a secondary scrutiny scenario and situation, and your reason for not living together has to be make logical sense to any person. If not, live together. Can I divorce after my EDD? Can I have my green card after? I don't understand the question. What is EDD? Can you explain that? What about an I-751 with a VAWA waiver? Okay, you mean an I-751 with extreme cruelty and abuse waiver. What is your question as it relates to that? What is the question you're asking me? Oh, look at that. So now I can add a moderator to my live. I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to start doing that now, so maybe somebody else can grab all the questions. Silver Miller says, why do USCIS look at divorce with one eye or in a funny way? I don't know. I guess it depends on your question, and it depends on the person. And I don't know what context that you're asking it, but I know certainly when you have somebody who has a lot of divorces and marriages within short periods of time, you're definitely a red flag. There are many things, and maybe I can do another live, maybe my next live, I can talk about immigration red flags, the types of people or the types of applications that are red flags. Let me know in the comment if you want me to talk about that next on my next live. Let me just write this down so I can talk about that. And because you're an immigration red flag does not mean that your case is impossible, but it's just things to note and prepare. And it's just for you to be extra prepared for that. Tina, what is your question? Will Chris Martins and me will marry? I don't know what you're talking about. Anywho. Okay, so let's see. I have a 10-year green card marriage, but most I have to file for citizenship before 3 years or after 3 years. So you become eligible for citizenship after 3 years of marriage and 3 years of your having a green card. I mean, you can generally file 3 months before the 3-year anniversary, like 90 days before, but that's your eligibility. Someone says, Abby says, after marriage, how long can you do a joint account? Do you mean how soon after marriage can you do a joint account? Right away. Like, what are you waiting for? Make sure, though, if you do a joint account, that you guys are actually using your account. Do not just get a joint account. Oh, I put $100 there, $200 here, $400 here. or whatever it is, but it's dormant. Make sure that you guys have an account that you guys are using consistently for things in the house, whether it's bills, groceries, shopping, Fashion Nova, Amazon, wherever you shop. You know, I always say this, being in the immigration system is unfair. And what I mean by that is, sometimes USCIS has unrealistic expectations for people, but this is one of those things that you just have to endure and persevere, until you get your green card. Meaning, there are couples who are not in the immigration process that don't want to have a joint bank account, right? It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. But when it comes to immigration, just because there's so much fraudulent stuff, there are just certain things that make them look at certain things as a red flag if there is no explanation. So yeah, I'll talk about red flags, but again, remember, a red flag is not necessarily a denial. It has to have a logical explanation. And that's why I go back again to those, to when I say, when people think, oh, we're just going to submit a form, I'm going to submit this without really any context to what you're submitting, for the officer. Because when you go into those interviews, they don't have time. They're not sitting down with you for an hour to listen to your stories of why this and this and this and that. Like, you need to come like guns ablaze, like in your application. It needs to be airtight, meaning you need to literally earn the respect of the officer before you walk into the room. I remember a client of mine, before we walked into the room, they kept us waiting for 2 hours. And when the officer came out and he said, because I kept going back and I was like, when are they going to call us? I got to go, because this was an interview that was like 2 hours away. And all I was thinking was, I got to go pick up my kids. Like, their school is going to close. And I remember, and I said to the officer, when he opened the door, did you forget about us? Like, I was saying it in a joking manner. And he laughed. And when he laughed and said, no, he didn't, that he was reviewing the case. And as soon as we got in, he said, I just wanted to let you know that I already approved you guys before you came inside. At least your wait was not in vain. So, to me, or I'm saying that to show you guys that if you come airtight, those interviews are literally just fulfilling all righteousness because they have to do it. But they're already ready to approve you unless something goes off, at the interviews. There are literally some interviews that they're just already a slam dunk case, and it's just go there and answer the simple questions they ask you. Yeah, so, okay. What if you received your travel document and work permit, but no prima facie? Those are two different things. So your travel document and work permit, when you have an adjustment of status attached to your valid case, is because you have a pending 485. But you don't get a prima facie unless they feel that you meet the minimum requirements for VAWA. So you could just the same way that people can get a work permit and a travel permit but still be denied their case. You're not going to get a prima facie unless you meet the requirements to be classified as a VAWA victim. So, I'm hopeful for you that maybe you'll get it. Delay is not denial as long as you get it. But if not, it's one of the things that you want to see what's going on and why you haven't gotten it, because I don't know how long it's been. Oh, Epiphany says, much love from Turks and Caicos Islands. Oh my God, I am so jealous. So jealous. So jealous. Such a beautiful country. Like, I totally want to visit one of these days. Fanny Boy says, you're looking sharp today, attorney. Please, what's your secret? Secrets, Jesus and water. Jesus and water and minding my business. How long does it take to get a work permit and other documents using VAWA? The answer depends on if you're filing a standalone VAWA case, or if you're filing your adjustment of status, which is your green card application with your VAWA case. If you're doing a standalone VAWA, your work permit, you're not going to get it until they make a decision on your VAWA case, which usually takes anywhere from 2 years to 2.5 years. If you applied for an adjustment of status, you're looking at somewhere between 5 to 9 months. Before, most of them were approaching towards the 9-month mark. Knock on wood, this month, we've been seeing more come around the 5 and 6 month mark. I'm hoping this is a new norm, and I'm even hoping that it becomes quicker. As you guys know, end of last month, USCIS announced like a premium processing for EADs and stuff like that, where, applicants can pay a premium fee for them to make it quicker. So we're waiting. We're not going to find out really what's up with that until June. So those are things that, you guys that are in that waiting game could consider, and if it's worth it to you once they do that. This is my last question, guys, and because I have a meeting. So Sandy says, can you file for VAWA after already submitting forms for a marriage-based green card? Absolutely. You can file a VAWA case even if you have a pending marriage-based case. We can work with you. We have many clients that are in that situation. If you are in that situation and you want to be evaluated, call the office, 407-995-6567. Okay, guys, I have to jump off. I have a meeting right now with my staff. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful Friday. On Tuesday, I will be talking about immigration red flags. That is one topic you definitely want to tune into. So share this video with your friends. Share my page with your friends so that they can be tuned in. Subscribe to my channel, notification button. So I'll see you guys on Tuesday when I'm going to talk about that. All right, guys, have a good rest of your weekend. Bye.